I didn't really get a chance to talk about a few movies, so I'm going to now talk about a few movies that I saw within the past month or two. These movies being Novocaine, Working Man, and The Amateur. These are all films that I was pretty excited to go watch and see, and I really wasn't expecting too much, and surprisingly, each one of them turned out to be pretty decent. Nothing too crazy, nothing too great, but yeah, definitely all of these movies are definitely worth watching if you just like this type of genre that we're gonna go through. Also, want to say that I probably uploaded this video, but going forward, I'm going to change the way I talk about movies. If I don't talk about spoilers and the entire plot, it's because of a good reason. If I really want you to know what it's about, then I'll definitely talk about it. Or if it's too good, like with Sinners, I won't talk about it at all, and I will just implore you all to just go watch the film because I want people to go in blind. So yeah, I actually already pre-recorded Novocaine's review, so I'm going to have that play here, and then afterwards we'll talk about The Working Man and The Amateur, or Working Man, I should say. Huey from The Boys said, "Fuck it, I want to be a superhero." I watched Novocaine the other day, and I fairly enjoyed it. I will say I'm going to try to keep this review a little short because there really isn't anything special about this film, which is kind of weird. I saw this film getting a lot of high scores from Rotten Tomatoes, and you know, after watching it, I just don't think I agree. I think it's a fine movie. I don't think it's bad, but get a 90 from Rotten Tomatoes like it was getting, I just don't agree. Now, one thing it's funny about this film, I saw this trailer quite a bit of times because when you go to the movies a lot, you get to see the same trailers every single time, and me and my brother were talking about the film, and we predicted what was going to happen in this film. We predicted a certain character wasn't being completely truthful, and we'll get into that. The story is about a man named Nathan who has a genetic disease where he can't really feel pain, and there's actually more to this. He really can't feel extreme hots or extreme colds, and they go into like where he can't even really eat solid foods because he could mistake that as him biting his own tongue and he could actually harm himself. So I'm really glad the movie actually went into this genetic disease. Like, there's more to it than, oh, he just can't feel pain. I know there are people out there who has something similar to this, though I don't know to this extreme in this film because this dude is literally like surviving stabs and arrows to the body, and I don't really think this is a super realistic film, but it's somewhat realistic. Jack Quaid is who plays Nathan, who is a really good actor. I saw him in Companion earlier this year, so it was really cool to see him again in another film, and I think he also did a really good job. Nathan works at a bank and he meets this woman who he completely falls in love with because he really hasn't had that many connections with any other people throughout his life. He also was told that he has a life expectancy, so he doesn't really do too much in his life. So when the opportunity comes where he meets this girl, he really is like overwhelmed and wants to do so many things and go out and have fun. He's really happy. It really changes his life. And Jack Quaid also met this girl when she was applying to work her, so that's how these two got together. But oh no, one day a bunch of bank robbers came in and shot some guns and everything. It was like, put the money in the bag, and was robbing a bank essentially. I don't know why I'm explaining it. And they needed a hostage, so they took Jack Quaid's girlfriend that he just got, and now he's got to go save her, and he's going to do whatever it takes to save her. His girlfriend is played by Amber Midthunder, I believe it's pronounced, and this movie also stars Jacob Batalon, the CEO of Sex, and he plays his best friend, who apparently he's only known him through video games. I do think the way the story was set up was very interesting, although it quickly became very cheesy and very generic. Like, it really isn't anything special. Like, it's kind of like John Wick, where this guy's got to go hunt down the bad guys who took his girlfriend and get clues to figure out where they're hiding and everything, and it just ends up being very cheesy. Like, there's nothing really special with the whole like sequence of events. There's not really that many characters in this film besides the three main characters. There's Nathan, his friend, his girlfriend, and the three bank robbers. There are these two cop characters who are trying to figure out the crime scene and is putting things together, who play a very small role into this film, and I don't know, there's not really much to them. I mentioned it before, but Jack did a really good job in this film. I really like his acting. I think he's a really good actor, and I saw earlier today or this week that he wants to do a BioShock film, or he wants to star in it, and I would love to see him in it, so who knows. I love to see him in that. And of course, Jacob's character was also really funny. He's always a good comic relief character, and him being like completely bold in this film is just hilarious. Yeah, he did a really good job in this film, though it's kind of funny how he played a very similar role to what he does in the Spider-Man movies, how he's just the guy behind the computer. And Amber Midthunder, again, I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's a really cool last name. She does a pretty decent job. I will say it's kind of funny in the film. There's a line where she's like, I'm a really good actor, and it's like, It has some really good funny moments here and there. It's very entertaining. It's very fun to see Jack just go, and find these people and get himself into these wacky situations. It's also pretty funny to see him, or other people, react to his condition. They're all surprised. It also has some really good camera shots and, cinematography and angles and all that. Yeah, the camera work was really good. There was a few songs that I actually do like in this film that was pretty catchy and I kind of want to listen to again, so music wasn't that bad. Yeah, honestly, I don't really have too much left to say about the specifics of the film. Like I said, it's a really good film. It's a really decent film, though I was hoping to see a little bit more from this, but of course that's what you get when you see a lot of movies. There's just going to be times where the movies are just fine and they don't really do anything special, and I'm not going to completely say it's bad because it doesn't do anything special. I think it does a good amount of things pretty well, and that's perfectly fine. Honestly, everything else about this film I could really just summarize it just being fine and nice. Camera work, cinematography, set pieces, the whole message behind this film. It's just a fine movie. There's not really much to talk about. With that, I'll try to just summarize the plot as best as I can. Skip to this moment if you don't want to hear about spoilers. But yeah, Nathan is out to go get his girlfriend, and essentially there's 3 people involved with the crime or the bank heist that happened. He tracks down the first one by chasing them after they get away, and you pretty much have seen the majority of the fight from the trailer. So he fucking dies from a gunshot because he has to pick up the gun in the oil. It becomes a bit cartoonish the way the fight happens because the gun that is used in this fight is kicked around very large distances. Afterwards, he then finds out that the police are onto him and they think he's involved with the crime, but that's not the case. He just wants to save his girlfriend. We then cut to the scene where the other 2 criminals who got away from the bank heist are chilling with Sherry, which is his girlfriend, which, by the way, I think that's her nickname or her name, but she also brought Jack's character to a shop to get cherry pie, and he really liked it, and that was one of the dates. Doesn't really matter too much. And then it turns out, she knows the criminals and this was all part of the plan. Shocker. Again, my brother literally called it, and in a way I kind of assumed that was going to be the case. This person you just met came into your life and she's perfect in everything, and then all of a sudden a bank robbery happens, and I don't know. It's very predictable, and that's not the only thing that's predictable in this film. Afterwards, he gets some clues on where to find the next person involved in the crime. He figures out he needs to go to a tattoo shop and finds out who gave the tattoo to the third guy, and with the help of his gamer friend Jacob, he finds the tattoo artist, and it proceeds to a fight scene because he tries to he tries to get information from him by tricking him into giving his last name, but the tattoo artist doesn't fall for it. And this tattoo artist is a very big, beefy guy, and Jack does manage to beat him, but he has a very, very interesting tattoo on his neck, and I was just like, oh wow, that's a thing. I don't want to say it, but just think about Kanye West and you might know what tattoo he had on his neck. I also like that this was the scene where he used his power for his power. It's not really a power, but he works at a bank and he uses the links and connections he has to find the next guy's address to verify if the guy was telling the truth. Where he goes, "Oh, give me your name," and everything. So he goes to the next house, and this is where a lot of traps are set, and he falls for a trap, and this is where the second guy comes and tries to torture him, but he eventually gets help from his friend. And honestly, you also saw this in the trailer. He gets a knife and fights him and everything, and there's some scenes with the bear mace and everything. Jacob also gets knocked out a few times. Eventually he just dies. Now all of a sudden the cops are now on to Jacob and Nathan, so they got to make a quick exit by Jacob distracting cops and going one way, and Nathan goes to find where the first main guy is. I don't know why I said second, third, doesn't matter. This is the last guy of the crew, the main guy, who's apparently Sherry's brother, so that's pretty awkward. He finds out that they work at an auto shop from a jacket from the last house, so he goes there, tries to save Sherry, and they get into an altercation. And then this is when Nathan is told, oh hey, by the way, Sherry's an op the entire time, and this really disturbs him. He's really like stressed out and like I don't want to say he's having a panic attack, but yeah, he freaks out. He like freezes up and like almost dies because he gets left vulnerable and he gets put into a position where he's about to get his head splattered by a tire crushing him. Then the cops come and save him, and it seems like everything is saved because one of the cops shot the last brother, and all of a sudden he's alive. And this is, I feel like it was like, how did he just quickly just recover that? But I don't know, maybe he's super strong. The last brother takes a getaway. I think he takes an ambulance, and Novocaine was also being escorted out into an ambulance, so he's in the back of the ambulance. Everyone else follows him, as far as like the other cop that wasn't shot and Sherry, because they're working together, and Jacob is there because he was arrested by distracting the cops from earlier. Eventually they get into a fight. Nathan and the last brother, they beat each other up a bunch. There's a joke with the whole like defibrillator and clear and everything, and the car flips over, and that's pretty extreme. I don't really understand how like that would do that, but the car flips when he gets defibrillated. I don't even know if that's the right word. Revived. He got shocked. And they fight some more. Sherry shows up and she helps fight his brother, and then eventually Novocaine, throughout the film, he has these like EpiPens that give him like a boost that'll wake him up, and he used it and finished the job and turned into a fucking psycho, killed the last brother, and everyone is saved except Sherry is still a criminal, and Nathan still broke the law by taking justice into his own hands. So after some busy work and some shenanigans, it was like a good amount of days passed. He was in a coma. This was also during Christmas, and then it's now January, so he wakes up. He finds out that he just needs to serve like a few months or like a handful of months in jail, and then he has like probation. Then he's free, and then they make a joke about him being a white man and working at a bank. So Sherry, on the other hand, has to go to prison. I believe they said she's there for like 18 months or so. And yeah, they continue the relationship. They still love each other. And Sherry earlier was like, Jack, everything that we had was real. I really did like you. All the times we went out and all that stuff. And I will say it is a bit cheesy because like they really did just meet, and he went on this whole adventure for her. I understand that he's the type of character that's like, oh, she was my first. Yeah. But yeah, he continues the relationship while she's in jail, and she's going to get out soon, and he learns to eat more solid foods. And yeah, the movie just ends. It's a really just nice film. Honestly, there's not really much to say. I thought it was, I don't know, it's very cheesy, but also very good, kind of cheesy. It's definitely entertaining. Jack Quaid did a really good job in this film. I thought the action was really nice. The story is a bit cheesy and generic, like I keep saying. And yeah, honestly, if you really want to see a funny action movie, I think this is a fine movie to see. But yeah, that's what I thought about Novocaine. I think it's a very interesting film. I think it's worth watching, honestly. I don't see this film doing too amazingly well. I do know the marketing was pretty good. I hope to see more from Jack Quaid. I really do like his acting and his performance in this film. I say I give this, I want to say a 7 out of 10. That seems about fair. I want to say if the story wasn't so cheesy and generic and very predictable, it could easily be an 8, but unfortunately that's not the case. But still a good movie, I'd say. But yeah, that's Novocaine. Alright, so now we are at Working Man. And before I even start off, man, do I want to say Jason Statham is the king of 7 out of 10 movies. It doesn't matter what he's in, it doesn't matter what he makes. He seems to just keep making these movies that I just keep seeing, and I know it's going to be the same movie every single fucking time, and I keep giving it the same score, and I don't know why. You know, recently he's also made some kind of decent movies. They're not like too bad, like what was it, Megalodon? Like those are really, really bad, but Jason seems like he's trying to make decent movies, and I think he did with Working Man. Granted, it is very, 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 very similar to The Beekeeper. In fact, it's made by the same people, so I guess they just made 2 different scripts, and they said, fuck it, let's make 2 different movies. But yeah, Working Man. Jason Statham is a literal working man who has a daughter who he doesn't have much custody over and can barely see her. He has this past also where he was like and he really lives in his car, and his job is working at this construction site, and he's kind of like a manager, and he's really well loved. Everyone likes him. He's pretty cool. He's, you know, pretty caring for others. One day, the boss's daughter gets kidnapped, so now he has to go and save her by using his skills and, yeah, using the power of family. I'm sorry, that's the wrong franchise. Using the power of his fists and being a working man himself, he's got to go save this girl. This is an action movie. What do you expect? Jason Statham does some action, and I think he did a pretty good job. It's there's actually some moments where I was like, oh shit, the action's pretty crazy. Nothing as good as Love Hurts. I still think that's one of the best action movies that have come out this year, but still, decent action in this. The plot is very, not original, like, at all. It's very basic. At least Jason does something special with it. Him being a working man, you think, oh, this guy ain't gonna do much, but it's like, it's Jason Statham. What do you expect? He's a fucking ass kicker. He's gonna kick some ass. Just he's disguised as a fucking working man. So that's kind of like the irony behind it, because it's like, oh, he's a working man, and he'll even say the quote to the people right before he kills them. Very funny plot, a very funny premise, and it goes very far, if anything. Like, this plot, like, takes a lot of turns and twists and everything. I thought the pacing was pretty fine. There wasn't any moments where it was, like, too boring or, like, it was drawn out. There was pretty much action every 5 minutes after getting to a new place, and there's always these funny moments where Jason finds himself into, like, this situation where he has to, like, escape or run away or beat people up. He even shows off how badass he is in the beginning of the film when one of his coworkers was being bullied by these gangsters. If you've seen the Beekeeper film, you probably can imagine where this movie goes, and that really is kind of a shame, but also it's like, still, The Beekeeper was a very entertaining, very, dumb, fun movie. You get exactly what you paid for. Now, that doesn't mean I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. But yeah, don't expect this movie to be like something too crazy. I will say there's some like interesting moments where like I was like, oh, the movie is it's actually teaching a pretty interesting lesson. They really dive into the whole like human nature, and I don't know how to say it, but like, every life is precious. They go into a lot of messages about that. They talk about that, and there's even some messages about cheating on your wife or hurting them, not cheating. So yeah, I will say at least Jason, and again, I don't know his name in the film, but I'm just going to call him Jason because he's literally the same person. He definitely gives some decent messages, for the film to have for people to go home with. There really isn't any other characters in this film. There is a guy who's blind, who they make a few blind jokes towards him, who kind of is like, hey, Jason, you sure you want to do this? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm sure. And he has a gun vault, and it definitely feels very John Wick-esque with this scene with the gun vault, and I don't know if that's what they were going for. Jason, being this veteran who served, has a lot of experience, so we get to see him with a lot of cool weapons, a lot of cool gadgets here and there, and there's a lot of other cool tech that get used against him. The writing was definitely okay, but you can tell when the writers know they're making a movie for an action-adventure movie or a dumb fun movie like this, because that's exactly what this felt like at times. There was just times where it's like, oh, why did you do that? Or like, why did you actually do this? Like, you're in a movie. It's like the movie knows it's inside of a movie, but again, I feel like that's what it was going for. The movie, I remember having some cool soundtracks here and there. There was some cool audio, mixes that was pretty interesting. There was some decent cinematography at times, and I don't know if I talked about pacing, but it definitely felt pretty natural. Like, you get to see Jason travel and like figure things out piece by piece, kind of like, what's that movie? Taken with Liam Neeson. So yeah, overall, just a very fun movie. Don't take it too seriously, obviously. Don't expect anything like emotional in this film as well. I mean, yeah, if you like good family movies, because that seems like what this guy is all about. Funny because he's in the Fast and the Furious, but still, like, if you like some good family fun, some action, some violence here and there, some shootings and some Halloween parties, and yeah, go and watch this film. It's pretty good. Also, a lot of the people that Jason was hunting was also very like crazy and very, cartoonish. Like, there's even this moment, I know I said that was it, but like, no. At the end of the movie, there's this scene during a Halloween party where a lot of people just show up and say a lot of like quirky lines, and everyone just acts like a cartoon character in this film, really. But yeah, that's how it's fun. If I had to rate this, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Probably a 6 if I wasn't, it's such a light mood for these types of films, but yeah, that's really all I can say. I definitely do think it's better than Beekeeper, because I remember Beekeeper getting way too ahead of itself and being way too out of control and stupid at the end. But yeah, Working Man actually tries to be a little serious more than Beekeeper, so yeah, definitely go watch it if you just want to have some fun. And now we're on The Amateur. The Amateur, a movie that I was definitely really excited to see. It looked really cool. This movie had, of course, famous actor Rami Malek, who's very talented, Lawrence Fishburne. They had Rachel Bronson, I believe, and John Berthnell, I believe it's pronounced. I'm not too sure, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, those are really the most like noticeable like actors in this film. And yeah, I thought the premise of this film was just really cool. I don't really do this too much. I am a web designer, and in a way, Remy plays a character that is somewhat similar to people like me, or if not, like people that are in my field, because you know, tech guys are pretty, you know, like not really outgoing that much, kind of introverted. I'm not too sure if that is what Remy was going for this character, but I think he did a good job regardless. Of course, this goes into another big discussion about trailers spoiling the fucking movie, but you probably saw the trailer to this. So yeah, Remy plays Charles, who works for the FBI, I think it is? No, the CIA, and one day his wife goes on a vacation trip to London, and then she fucking dies to a bunch of terrorists. So now, kind of like American Assassin, Charles is like, hey, CIA, give me some training and I want to hunt these guys down. And they're like, all right, we'll do that. And Lawrence Fishburne is there to train him, and then eventually he goes doing some other sneaky stuff that he's not supposed to really be doing because he wants revenge. So we got action, revenge, drama, all this type of shit with love. But yeah, overall I thought the story was pretty interesting. I will say it's very predictable with this film. You can definitely tell what's going to happen throughout the entire film. It does take a few interesting twists and turns, and I do like what they do with it. Don't want to say too much, but there is a scene, or like there is this moment where like Remy meets another woman who turns out to be like a pen pal that they've been chatting with, and when he's at the CIA working, because she gives him like files and important information to like do investigations and studies and all that, they eventually have to meet up, and like there's this moment where he finds a connection with this person and he sees his wife in this character. Kind of funny because like I can only imagine if this was like an old man, like what type of movie this would be, because there was a scene where they were cuddling. So yeah, it worked out that the person he's been chatting with, his like best friend, just happens to be a middle-aged woman who's somewhat I'd say attractive, similar in like body style to like his ex or his dead wife. I really thought the pacing for this movie was really great. There was a lot of good music choices in this. Eventually, like, the CIA don't want Charles to like continue his training because they only wanted to do that for a little bit, but Charles finds some information out on the CIA, so he forces them to give him training, and they don't like this. And of course, Remy expects this to happen. He also expects them to like go back on their word to even hunt him down. So throughout the film, it's him hunting down the people who killed his wife, you know, following the clues, while he's being hunted by a bunch of people. And you definitely feel the tension in some of the scenes. The tension isn't like too high, because like I said, you definitely know what's going to happen in this film regardless. It's very predictable, sadly, like I keep saying. I thought the acting by everyone was pretty okay. There wasn't really anyone that, you know, stood out, you know, as like bad or anything, or didn't give their all. I will say the bear, which is played by Jon Bernthal, his character is kind of weird because he shows up and you think he's going to be important to the story, and he kind of isn't. He just shows up at one random point towards the end of the film and he gives a TED talk, and it's like, oh, hey, by the way, you shouldn't be doing this. This is kind of cringe. And he just leaves for the entire film. So yeah, there's that. Again, with the story, you probably already know what the message of this film is going to be once you're like halfway through it. So, you know, it's still best to just watch it blind without knowing too much, because again, the trailer already gave too much away. I liked when Charles was just investigating, doing all these things with the CIA knowledge that he has, finding these people, hunting them down, stalking them, figuring out what they do for a living. I just really liked that in this film, and I thought it was just really fun and entertaining. I don't know what it is about these types of films. I like it when like someone is against impossible odds. They're doing everything in their power and using all the things that they know to overcome it, especially if they are seen as like not a big threat or a big problem. Lawrence Fishburne's character is definitely present throughout the film. He's definitely in a way important, but like he could be in a lot more scenes, but not really. He's also one of these actors who really just plays the same mentor type of character. And you know, that's totally fine. I haven't gotten bored of him just yet, funny enough. There is some action in this film. It's pretty okay, but not the type of action that you would expect, where it's just, you'll just have to watch and see. There were some cool camera moments, and there was some times where the dialogue was badass, and you definitely are rooting for the main character to like pull on and like keep going and everything. And I just thought this movie was really fun, really enjoyable. I was I felt it was really relatable. I was definitely entertained throughout it all. I don't think this movie is going to get like the craziest amount of buzz, mainly because it wasn't really marketed to be anything too crazy. In fact, like I said, I keep saying it, the trailer kind of gave everything away, so there really wasn't any mystery to it. So who knows? I don't really know what's going to happen. Like I said, Raimi did a good job, is the best job that he can do. I still think this movie is still just entertaining, still just pretty okay. Definitely worth a watch if you like these type of movies. There really wasn't anything too bad about this film. They just didn't do anything to really wow me, unfortunately. So with that, I'm actually going to give this a now 7 out of 10 as well. I can see myself giving this a 6 out of 10 if I were to like watch this at a later time. I would see myself giving it an 8 out of 10. I just could change a few things, but I definitely can't see this movie getting anything higher than an 8. But yeah, I think a 7 is a nice little place. Just an okay, decent, good, fine movie. It's okay. Definitely okay. Definitely worth watching if you like these types of films. Alright, yeah, that was 3 movies in one. So yeah, what do you guys think? Which one was your favorite? What do you all think? And yeah, if I didn't really have enough time to like give these movies their own individual review because things just kept piling up. So there may be some times where I do a 3 for 1 or a 2 for 1. So who knows, maybe a 4 for 1. I don't know. But yeah, you guys, hope you're all having a great one and you all enjoy the rest of your day. See ya. Bye. Bye.